everyone, I have another 5 cards to share from the December 2021 card kit of the month from Spellbinders. For card number 1, we're going to use the dies and one of those chipboard dimensional type stickers. I have a white card base. All the card bases are from my stash, and then the pink cardstock from the kit, and then this black kind of distressed pattern paper. Then a scrap of the quatrefoil here in a strip, and I'm going to place that down on the left of this black rectangle. And then I'm going to use that border die, and that's cut out of kind of the off-white cardstock that came in the kit. And that takes a bit of gluing. I'm going to put it right up next to the scrap of quatrefoil pattern paper and use my acrylic block to let it dry flat. And here is that dimensional sticker. It says choose joy. I like to add a little adhesive just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. I added a little too much here, and look how it slides around, but it helps me to be able to choose exactly where I want it. Now for the butterfly die, there's the 3 pieces. I've cut the outer wing in vellum, the detail wing part in a kind of a white glitter paper, and then the body in black cardstock. And I'm just pressing that down and fluffing up the wings a bit, and that will finish off card number 1. The glitter cardstock or glitter paper is just something from my stash. For card number 2, again, the white card base and the black cardstock from the kit. This die cut here from the pack, I have just trimmed off the edges and tried to kind of trim it to where it looks even, so it ends in sort of the same spot. And I'm going to glue that down here on the left side of the card. This piece of green pattern paper actually comes from the striped pattern paper. I liked how that shade of green matched the elements that I'm using, so I just cut it out of the striped paper. And I trimmed off the off-white parts, and then I'm just going to glue that down here on the edge of this border-looking die-cut piece. And then we have another chipboard frame from the kit, the black one with the text. I loved that one, and I'm really glad I was able to use it. I'm adding adhesive here as well, liquid adhesive, and just figuring out how I want this. I want it diagonal offset here, and I press that down, and then I'm going to bring in another one of the dimensional stickers. I loved this one when I saw it, and I think it has the theme of the kit, beauty is everywhere, on it. And I'm figuring out where to add adhesive, because some of it will attach to the chipboard frame, but then the sticker foam part goes in the center. And this little scrap here came from the Parisian printed pattern paper, just a scrap I had, and I cut that little rectangle and added the border flags or the pennant end to it. And that's just gonna finish off this card here in the bottom right. I'm gonna put that there and then add a few sequins here and there. And I am doing like that shinier pink in the middle, and then the matte pink that on either side of it. And then I'm gonna put a couple of the sequins up in the, I think in, where am I putting? Oh, that's right. In this corner of the chipboard frame here. Those sequins can be unruly at times, flipping all over the place, but I get them down eventually. This little tool I'm using is actually for nail art, putting like gemstones on nails, but it has a wax tip, and so it picks them up easily. And then the other side has metal that can push it down. It's meant to like push down rhinestones or something. So for card number 3, I have a card base that I made from the off-white, no wait, I'm not sure what the card base is. It might be from my stash. And then black cardstock. I have a scant 1/8 of an inch border, and then this text typography paper that I really loved. Now this is a scrap of white rectangle with a scrap of the brick pattern paper on it with a little edge, a little bit of the white edge sticking out on either side. And I'm going to place that down. My corner was sticking up, didn't get enough adhesive, so I put a little wet glue there. This oval die I have from the Feeling Hoppy March 2020 kit. It cuts out the oval and the border, but I just like that oval, so I'm using it. And then I'm going to use the stamp set and stamp right onto this oval the sentiment. I forget what it says here. Where there is love, there is life. That's what it says there. And I stamped it out in Versamark Onyx black ink. Then I had to dry it a bit, and this is how it turns out. And I'm going to use liquid glue on my little oval and just, I don't know why, just to use liquid glue. But then I got to put the acrylic block on it to hold it down because it's curling up from all that liquid glue. I did get a smudge of ink, but I used my sand eraser to get rid of that. Here are the other two die cut pieces I'm going to use. Nice black and white elements, the floral and the fawn. And then out of the die set flowers, I'm trying to show you that I cut these white ones. I mean these flowers. There's the 3 pieces and it's all white. And I just layered them. And one of them I have up on mounting tape, mounting square. So for this floral die cut piece, I am figuring out where to put it. I'm going to put it flat down on the left side of this oval, but I don't want to cover up the sentiment, so I'm kind of moving it around a little bit. I do end up covering some of the stamped border of the stamp there, but that's okay. I just didn't want to cover up the words. And the phone, I love that phone. It's so cool. I have it up on the mounting squares, and then one flower is mounted with a square and the other is going to go flat. And I could have used a black center, but I like the white, so this is how this card turns out. For card number 4, we're already on card number 4. I used a white card base, and then there was this pattern paper, and I did not have any cardstock to match that brown there. I tried. I couldn't find anything that I was happy with, so I'm gonna make my own brown here. And I'm just using the oxide ink frayed burlap and a little sponge blender thingy and sped that up super fast, but this is how I'm getting some color down that I was happy with. It's not a perfect match, but it's a lot better than any of the cardstock I had in my stash, and the oxide effect is pretty cool. So that's how it turns out. And then I'm figuring out where to place my square of pattern paper here with this chipboard frame that again I'm going to use in this card. So place that down, and then I can put my chipboard frame down. There was this, I don't know, I think it's kind of like an animal print, but I'm not entirely sure about that. So again, it's a little crooked. That's how I'm going with this. And I made a little mistake here. I am really good at making mistakes. I pressed it all the way down. I did not want to do that because my little scraps I wanted to tuck underneath, my pink and white banner scraps I wanted to tuck under the chipboard frame. So thankfully, the wet glue adds a little bit of dry time, and I was able to pull up the bottom of that frame and tuck them in just right here like I wanted to. So for the rest of this card, I'm going to use the die cut pieces, the little doily, the thankful sentiment from the die cut pack, and I'm going to place this doily down in the corner. And I added a little bit of thin white foam because that chipboard frame does add some dimension, and then the thankful is going to go right onto the chipboard frame, so it doesn't need any of the foam for that. And I'm going to pull the stamp set back in here and use that bird cage. You see, it's hard to see here, so I show you how it looks stamped out here. But this little bird cage here, I pull out some vellum from my stash, and I use some double-sided adhesive on the vellum before stamping it and fussy cutting it out. And I'm going to place that down on the doily here. And I really like how that looks on the vellum and stamped. And for stamping on the vellum, I finally got my refill for my Stays On ink, so that is what I used here, and it works really well because the vellum can be a little bit slippery. But yeah, you can use other ink, just be careful so it doesn't, the image doesn't slip. I really like how the Stays On gives a nice crisp image to that. So to finish off the card, I've got 5 sequins here. Put 3 of them down on the little tail, scrapped banner tails that I cut out of the pink and white cardstock, and then 2 right here in the corner. And we'll finish off card number 4. I really like how that turned out. It's a little more labor intensive, but you know, it was worth it. For card number 5, I've got a scant 1/8 of an inch border on my white card base, and I'm using the off-white cardstock from the kit I embossed it in quatrefoil, but I think it would look nice in any kind of subtle embossing pattern that you have, or even just plain. So I'm using the double stick adhesive tape that comes in the kit because of that raised dimension, and you know, it's useful anytime to use it, but it's definitely more useful than the tape runner, I would say, with the dimension there. And I have this glitter paper from my stash that I'm using. You could also use that with some stickles I had there but I really like the double stick adhesive that comes in the kit for any kind of extra dimension to hold it down. Now, I should not have put this down right now, and thankfully I was able to pull it up, because if you see that white lovely doily on the right of the screen, I want that down, and I kind of wasn't thinking, and I think it'd be definitely easiest to put that down first. Right here I'm realizing, problem. So I pulled out my trimmer and trimmed it to where I wanted it, but yeah, I definitely think it would be easier just to put it down before the floral paper. So that would be my advice moving forward. But thankfully I was able to get my little strip of glitter paper up and just, hide that right there. So the doily, actually, I bought a box of those from the thrift store several years ago, and I'm still using them. It's just a standard little white doily. You might use it under a teacup or something, but that is from my stash as well. So the inspiration for this card was that die cut floral piece that I just put on with all the mounting tape. And I just love the florals that came in the kit. And so that was the starting point for this card. Wanted to use that. And then to finish off this card, I have the die cut heart and the For You from the die cut pack, and I'm going to place them down here. It's taking a little coaxing because of that dimension on my quatrefoil pattern. And then I'm going to use one sequin in the end, and I'm pulling out my stickles again. Now I need to buy a new one of these. This is from like Ranger, I think, but this I'm almost out, so I'm squeezing the heck out of this guy to try to get just a little bit out. But I liked the added little bit of sparkle there, because there's a lot of sparkle in this card, and so that obviously is an optional step, but yeah, it's pretty nice if you have any kind of item like this or a little bling piece. And that is how the 5th card finishes off. And here I'll bring in all 5 cards again. If you haven't seen, these are number 15 through 20 that I've made from this kit, so if you haven't seen the others, check the video description, or I'll throw an iCard in here also. But yeah, let me know which one's your favorite of this set of 5. I really feel like for this card kit they were missing some of that, like either silver or white glitter paper. That would have been more useful than the gold this time, because there's a lot of kind of light glitter in the elements and not really gold. But fortunately I have that in my stash, so it wasn't a problem for me. But yeah, it was a little bit lacking. Thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful creative day. Bye!